He and his mistress thought they were clever, sneaking out of the guest bedroom before anyone else woke up. I saw her heels. I saw his belt inside out. But I stayed quiet. Until it was time for the cake. You know, people think money buys you class. But trust me, money just buys you prettier lies. I've been married to Jonathan Prescott for 23 years. Our friends call us the Prescotts of Preston Hill. The kind of family who throws gala fundraisers with catered oysters and custom ice sculptures. The kind who smile in photographs and never let the mask slip. Not even when it's strangling you, but beneath the glossy photos and manicured lawns there were cracks. Hairline fractures that grew wider with each passing month. It started small. Missed calls at midnight that he claimed were emergencies at the firm. Cologne on shirts I hadn't bought something musky and cheap that made my stomach turn. Too many client dinners that ended at 2 a.m., with him stumbling through our front door tie askew avoiding my eyes. I was raised to hold the family name above all. My mother's voice still echoes, "Elizabeth, a lady never airs her dirty laundry, especially not when there's a daughter watching." Caroline was turning 18. I'd planned her party like it was a royal wedding. Everyone who mattered in town would be there, including her. Her name is Delilah Martinez. She's 31, 12 years younger than me, 7 years older than our daughter. Blonde hair that catches light like spun gold. Tall, confident, works in real estate for Whitmore and Associates. She drives a red BMW convertible and wears designer suits that cost more than most people's monthly salary. She's also very good at slipping into my house at 2 a.m., when my daughter and I are supposed to be asleep upstairs. That night, 3 days before Caroline's party, I heard them. The soft click of the front door. Hushed whispers in the foyer. Jonathan's low laugh, the one he used to save for me. I lay in our king-sized bed silk sheets pulled to my chin, counting the seconds between their footsteps. Jonathan tried to be quiet, but I know every sound in this house. I know the rhythm of that loose floorboard outside our bedroom. I know which stairs creak and which ones don't. I waited. Listened to the guest room door close. Heard the bed springs protest under unfamiliar weight. At 5:47 a.m., I heard movement again. Careful, calculated steps. I slipped from bed barefoot on cold hardwood and positioned myself behind our bedroom door. Through the crack, I watched. Delilah emerged first. She was wearing my silk robe, the champagne-colored one Jonathan bought me for our anniversary 2 years ago. The one I'd been looking for all week. Her hair was tousled, makeup smeared, but she moved with the confidence of someone who belonged. She didn't look ashamed, she looked satisfied. Jonathan followed, shirt unbuttoned, belt in his hand. He was fumbling with his collar when he saw me standing in the doorway. Our eyes met. For a moment, time stopped. He didn't look guilty. He didn't look sorry. He looked at me like I was the one who didn't belong. Like I was trespassing in my own home. "Elizabeth." His voice was flat, matter of fact. "Jonathan." I matched his tone. Delilah paused at the top of the stairs, one manicured hand on the banister. She turned, smiled at me, actually smiled like we were old friends running into each other at the country club. "Mrs. Prescott, lovely to see you again." Again. As if this was normal. As if she hadn't just spent the night in my guest room with my husband. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw the crystal vase sitting on the hall table. Instead, I smiled back. "Delilah, how nice." She left through the front door. Jonathan disappeared into his study. I stood in the hallway for 10 minutes, listening to the house settle back into silence. Then I went to the kitchen, and I baked the cake. I'd already ordered Caroline's birthday cake from Delacroix Patisserie, a stunning 3-tier creation with buttercream roses and gold leaf accents. But I called them that morning and canceled. Politely, professionally, I've decided to make it myself, I told Monsieur Delacroix. A mother's touch, you understand. He was puzzled but accommodating. The Prescotts were excellent customers. I spent the entire day in the kitchen. 3 layers of red velvet, each one perfect. Dark cocoa and a hint of vanilla. Cream cheese frosting whipped to silk. I worked with the precision of a surgeon measuring each ingredient twice, but the real artistry went into what would be hidden inside. I'd called my friend Margaret, who runs a specialty bakery supply company. I need edible paper, I told her. The kind for printing messages on cakes. Rush order. Of course, darling. What's the occasion? Truth, I said. Between the top and middle layers, nestled in a thin layer of frosting, I placed my message. Printed on edible gold foil in elegant script. Beautiful. Devastating. The house filled with people on Saturday evening. Caroline looked radiant in her emerald green dress, the one we'd picked out together at Bergdorf's. She moved through the crowd like she was born for this, accepting congratulations and compliments with grace that made my heart swell with pride. Jonathan played his part perfectly. The charming host, the successful attorney, the devoted family man. He worked the room with practiced ease, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, telling the same stories I'd heard 100 times. And Delilah. She floated through our home like she owned it. She complimented our art collection. She admired the flower arrangements. She even helped herself to champagne from the crystal flutes arranged on silver trays. Several times I caught her and Jonathan exchanging glances. Little smiles, secret looks. Right there in front of everyone. In front of our daughter. Judge Morrison's wife cornered me by the piano. Elizabeth, darling, you look absolutely radiant. Marriage clearly agrees with you. I smiled, nodded, made appropriate responses while my heart hammered against my ribs. 23 years this fall, I said. Time flies. The secret to a long marriage. I glanced across the room where Jonathan was laughing at something Delilah had whispered in his ear. Patience, I said, and perfect timing. At 9 o'clock, Caroline called for attention. The crowd gathered in the dining room. Champagne glasses raised. The cake sat on the mahogany table like a centerpiece surrounded by flowers and flickering candles. Speech, someone called. I stepped forward, knife in hand. The weight of it felt good, solid, final. Thank you all for celebrating Caroline's 18th birthday with us. She's grown into a remarkable young woman, and Jonathan and I couldn't be prouder. Murmurs of agreement, gentle applause. But before we cut the cake, I want to say something about truth, about honesty, about the foundations we build our lives on. The room grew quieter. Caroline looked at me with curious eyes. Sometimes, I continued, we think we're protecting the people we love by keeping secrets. But secrets are like termites. They eat away at everything beautiful until there's nothing left but a pretty shell. I positioned the knife over the cake. Tonight we're going to serve truth with our dessert. I cut into the top layer. The knife moved through fondant and frosting like butter. I lifted the slice, placed it on a delicate china plate, and handed it to Jonathan. The first piece is always for the man of the house, I said. Jonathan took the plate. Our fingers brushed. His were cold. He raised the fork to his mouth, bit into the cake, and stopped chewing. Because right there, clearly visible in the red velvet printed on edible gold foil in script that matched our wedding invitations, were the words, "This marriage ends at midnight. Lawyers have been notified. Accounts have been frozen. Happy birthday, Caroline. The silence stretched like a held breath. Jonathan's face went white, then red, then white again. The fork slipped from his fingers, clattering against the china. Caroline stepped closer, reading over his shoulder. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Mom." More people pressed in, straining to see. I heard Mrs. Whitmore gasp. Judge Morrison cleared his throat. Someone dropped a champagne flute. Delilah pushed through the crowd, wineglass in hand. She looked at the cake, at Jonathan, at me. The color drained from her face like water from a broken dam. "You can't be serious," she whispered. I met her eyes. "I'm many things, Delilah, but I'm never unserious about my family." "Elizabeth, wait," Jonathan started. "No." My voice cut through the room like the knife had cut through cake. "I'm done waiting. I've been waiting for you to remember who you married. I've been waiting for you to remember that we have a daughter who watches everything we do. I've been waiting for you to come home to the life we built, instead of sneaking around with your real estate agent." The crowd was frozen. 37 of Preston Hill's most prominent citizens watching the Prescott family implode in real time. "I saw you." I continued, my voice steady despite the tears starting to flow. "Both of you. In my house, in my guest room, wearing my robe." I looked directly at Delilah. "Did you think I wouldn't notice? Did you think I was blind or just stupid?" Delilah's wine glass slipped from her hand. Red wine spread across our Persian rug like blood. "Mrs. Prescott, what you're sorry. You didn't mean for it to happen. It just happened once." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I've been watching you circle my husband for months. I've seen you at the country club, at the charity auctions, at every social event in this town. You've been hunting." Caroline was crying now. Quiet tears that broke my heart more than anything Jonathan had done. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," I said to her. "I'm sorry you had to learn this way. I'm sorry your birthday party became this. But I couldn't pretend anymore. I couldn't serve lies with your cake." Judge Morrison stepped forward. "Perhaps we should go," I said. "All of you, take some cake if you like, but the party's over." People began to file out. Whispered conversations, shocked faces. The scandal would be all over town by morning. Jonathan stood frozen still, holding his plate. 23 years, he said finally. 23 years of building something beautiful. And you destroyed it for what? For her? I gestured toward Delilah, who was backing toward the door. "For someone who'll disappear the moment the money stops flowing. Elizabeth, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling. We can't do anything, Jonathan. There is no we anymore. There's you, and there's me, and there's Caroline. And Caroline and I are going to be just fine." Delilah reached the door. "Jonathan, are you coming?" He looked at her. Looked at me. Looked at Caroline, who was staring at him with eyes full of disappointment. "I'll be in touch about the arrangements," he said quietly. They left together. The man I'd loved for half my life and the woman who'd stolen him away. Caroline and I stood in the empty dining room, surrounded by abandoned champagne glasses and the ruins of what had been a perfect party. "Mom." "Yes, baby." "Are you okay?" I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. Looked at the beautiful cake I'd spent all day making. At the message that had finally set me free. "I will be." We spent the next hour cleaning up. Caroline helped without complaining, stacking plates and folding napkins like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. "The cake is really good," she said, taking another bite. "Thank you. I added extra vanilla. Is Dad really not coming back?" I sat down beside her at the kitchen island. "I don't think so, sweetheart. Not to live here, not like before." She nodded, processed this. Good. Mom, I've known for months." I've seen the way he looks at his phone, the way he started working late every night, the way he stopped looking at you during dinner. She paused. I've been waiting for you to do something about it. My daughter, 18 years old and already wiser than her mother. I'm proud of you, she said, for not pretending anymore. That night after Caroline went to bed, I sat in the living room with a glass of wine and the family photo from our mantelpiece. Jonathan, Caroline, and me at the beach last summer. We looked happy. We looked like we belonged together, but looking happy and being happy are two different things. I put the photo away. Jonathan moved out the next morning. He came while Caroline and I were at church, took his clothes and his law books and his golf clubs. He left his wedding ring on the kitchen counter next to the coffee maker we'd bought together 15 years ago. Delilah lasted 3 weeks. Once the divorce papers were filed and the assets were frozen, once it became clear that Jonathan's life was about to become significantly less luxurious, she found other prey. I heard from Margaret that she'd started showing houses to the new pharmaceutical executive who'd moved to town from Chicago, a man with a wife and 2 small children. I kept the house. The judge agreed that Caroline needed stability during her senior year of high school. Jonathan could afford his own place, a sleek downtown condo that looked like every other sleek downtown condo. No character, no history, no soul. We had a small gathering for Caroline's actual birthday the following weekend. Just family. My sister, my parents, a few close friends who'd stood by us through the scandal. I made another cake chocolate this time with simple buttercream roses. No hidden messages, just sweetness. Are you happy, Mom? Caroline asked as we sat on the back porch watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. I considered the question. Was I happy? I was hurt. I was angry. I was embarrassed. I was scared about the future. But underneath all of that, there was something else. Something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. I'm free, I said, and that's better than happy. 6 months later, I sold the house. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Caroline was headed to Northwestern in the fall. I didn't need 12 rooms and a 3-car garage and a garden that required a full-time groundskeeper. I bought a smaller place on the other side of town. A 1920s cottage with original hardwood floors and a kitchen that actually gets used. I planted my own roses. I learned to bake bread. I still throw parties, smaller ones, intimate dinners with people I actually like, people who value honesty over appearances, people who understand that sometimes the most beautiful thing you can serve is truth. And I always make my own cake. Last month, Caroline brought her boyfriend home from college. A sweet boy from Ohio who studies environmental science and makes her laugh. We sat in my new kitchen eating chocolate chip cookies I'd made from scratch. Your mom makes the best desserts, he told Caroline. She puts love in everything. Caroline said, smiling at me across the table. Love, and sometimes when necessary, truth, because the two aren't always the same thing. But when they come together, when love is brave enough to demand honesty, that's when real sweetness begins. I've learned that you can't have a real marriage built on pretty lies. You can't have a real family when half of it is pretending. You can't have a real life when you're afraid to serve the truth. The cake that ended my marriage was the most honest thing I'd ever made. It was also the most beautiful, and that's a recipe I'll never regret.